Dr. R.L. Kashyap is Professor Emeritus of Electrical and Computer Engineering at Purdue University, USA. He had his master's degree from the Indian Institute of Science, Bengaluru, and obtained PhD from the Harvard. He is the recipient of many international awards. In 2003, he was honored with the title Vedanga Vidwan, instituted by Maharshi Sandipani Veda Vidya Pratishthan Ujjayini, an autonomous body of HRD, Government of India, and also director of Sri Aurobindo Kapali Shastri Institute of Vedic Culture. He has made fundamental contributions both in the fields of computer patterns, pattern recognition, and machine intelligence, as well as in the field of Vedic studies. For his work in the field of machine intelligence, he has received several major awards such as the Kingston Fu Award for Fundamental Contributions to Pattern Recognition 1990, given by the International Association of Pattern Recognition. He has also received several Best Research Paper Awards such as the J.C. Bose Award, Best Paper Award of the National Electronics Conference 1966, the second Best Paper Award in the journal Pattern Recognition. During his 33 years at Purdue, he has guided more than 50 students for PhD degree. He has published more than 200 papers at national and international conferences, including several keynote speeches. He was also the Associate Director of the Center for Intelligent Manufacturing. The journal IEEE Transactions on Pattern Analysis and Machine Intelligence, started by Professor Fu and Kashyap in the 70s, is the leading journal in the area. His doctoral work How Kashyap Algorithms, done in 1965, is quoted even in today's textbooks. In the field of Vedic studies, Dr. Kashyap has made fundamental contribution, including the complete translation into English of all the four major and most ancient collection of verses in Sanskrit, namely Rigveda Samhita, Krishna Yajurveda Samhita, and Samaveda, Atharvana Veda, one part consisting together of about 25,000 metrical verses in the Sanskrit of Vedas. He has continued the work of Sri Aurobindo and Kapali Shastri in revealing the deep meanings of Veda mantras. He still holds regular weekly classes at Sakshi explaining the deep meaning of the Veda mantras and Upanishads. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Kashyap, for you.
Satyam Rutam Brihad Ugra Diksha Tapa Yajna Prithavim Dharayanta. The first, of course, is our dedication to our mother of the ashram. The second recitation is the first mantra in the 12th sukta of Atharva Veda, part of the Bhumi Sukta. Before beginning this lecture, first of all, after all, yesterday was our Guru Purnima. Therefore, this is an occasion for remembering all the people who have taught us. First of all, one of my students was saying, being a professor, that we learn not only from our teachers, also from our students. Therefore, this is a joint effort at learning. That is this idea. Therefore, first thing I have to tell you is first gratitude. See, every day we repeat our Vishwamitra Gayatri mantra. Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi. People ask, why do you repeat it every day? I tell them, look at it. How do I get the oxygen for which I breathe? It is because of the sun's rays. It falls on the green leaves and the bacteria, and lo and behold, the CO2 becomes CO2 I can breathe. They are the people who create all this sort of the food for me, the plants. These are the things who brings water someplace and pours on my house to drink. Therefore, there is no greater power than this Surya Savitar. And therefore, every day we say, "Oh Lord, thank you for it," number one. And number two, propel our thoughts so that we don't misuse it. Dhiyo yonaha prachodayat. So that is the tradition we come from, the thanking of the sun and moon and everybody. And second, of course, is the formal teachers in my Vedic tradition. That belongs to, of course, human teachers, Sri Aurobindo, Sri Kapali Shastriya, and of course, Madhav Pandit, and Madhav Pandit, Kapali Shastriya's teacher, Vasishta Ganapati Muni. And not to mention the person sort of S.K. Ramachandra Rao, Virada Rangapriya Swami, and many others. Of the first four people of Sri Aurobindo, Kapali Shastriya, Madhav Pandit, and sort of our Vasishta Ganapati Muni, I had the privilege of having been living only or seeing our Madhav Pandit only. All the others I had only contact via. You see, Kapali Shastriya's greatness, we have named this institute as Sri Aurobindo Kapali Shastri Institute of Vedic Culture. So why do we call it? Because not only our Kapali's Vedic, Sri Aurobindo is important because it was he who first clearly identified what we call as the spiritual psychological foundations of the Veda. First of all, I have to understand, I know very well, it was the Ananda Tirtha, the Madhvacharya, who first wrote the important idea on the first 40 suktas of Rigveda. That's definitely a true thing. But at the same time, what I explain to you, this Adhyatmika, what I say, spiritual psychological interpretation, it was started by Sri Aurobindo in his essays in the journal Arya. And as a matter of fact, we are celebrating its 100th year almost today. It was started in 1915th August 15th, as a matter of fact. We are celebrating its centenary today. So Kapali Shastriya was a multifaceted genius. From his father, he got to the tradition of Sri Vidya. Then he met the famous Vasishta Ganapati Muni, I regard as the greatest Sanskrit poet in our time. It was blessed for him, he did not know English at all. Only he knew Sanskrit very well, of course, in Telugu, Tamil, and other things else. And he was a person, you see, all of us go to temples, we simply say bow down. But when he went to a temple, the deity manifested before him, and lo and behold, 100 verses came out of his mouth. That was the caliber of our Vasishta Ganapati Muni. And he was technically the founder of, discoverer of the great Ramana. Therefore, they called each other as Nayana. That's a different question. And then, of course, later Kapali became a disciple of Ganapati Muni because of the same idea. He went to a temple for worship, and lo and behold, our teacher Ganapati Muni recited some verses. Next day, Kapali could recite the same verses back. That sort of thing we can't even imagine happening today. There's a different culture, different times. And then, of course, he went to our Ramana also. Later, our Kapali had his own visions. Then he came to Sri Aurobindo and stayed in the ashram in 1930 to 1953. And so, our Kapali always had the idea of writing a bhashya for from the point of view of what you may call tradition of the ancient rishis. That is the idea, what they have said. Therefore, for example, we don't understand because that old tradition has gone. Therefore, he wrote his bhashya based Dhanjana, and it was completely approved by Sri Aurobindo also. By the time the Ganapati Muni had already passed away in 36 itself. It is the basis for my own work, It is the work of Sri Aurobindo and the Sanskrit work of Kapali Shastriya, which is the sort of, and then of course, all of them were, if you look at their collected works, Sri Aurobindo has 35 volumes, Kapali Shastri has about 12 volumes, or MP Pandit has about 20 volumes, of which 4 are the one, and Ganapati Muni has about 11 volumes. Therefore, they are the people who don't write single things, they write massive things as it were, and we are all grateful for what they have done. So the point was why that's so much importance was the commentary was known as the Siddhanjana. When I basically, was very grateful for our person to tell us about the contributions to Veda. My fundamental contribution to the Veda is translating all the 25,000 mantras in the 5 Vedas. You may say, where are the 4? Krishna Yajurveda, unfortunately, our Yajurveda is 2. There is the Krishna edition and the Shukla edition. We South Indians, for example, we ask what are it, therefore we say Apastamba, Shakadhyai, Apastamba Sutraha, that's how we introduce ourselves. Therefore, technically they are, so 26 volumes are there, and of course, each volume is 400 pages, and for 26 volume means the Rigveda 12 volumes, even though 10 mandalas are there, 12 volumes for them, Yajurveda 6 volumes, Samaveda 2, Atharvaveda 6 volumes, and then our Shukla Yajurveda 2 volumes. So total 26 volumes are there. And then the idea is, hey, how many people read 400-page books? That is this idea. Though we are all realists, after all, we are coming from that community. A few people definitely will read. Therefore, there is a need for smaller, compact books which will explain the secrets of the Veda, Veda Rahasya. That is a technical word used in the Veda itself and by Kapala Shastriya and Ganapati Muni and everybody. And then for that, for example, what does it mean to have, let's say, Agni, Indra, all the deities are there, Bliss is there, Soma is there. So about 40 such books I have published. And they are immensely popular by and large because people feel, as one person told me, at least if I take up your book, I can pick it up Saturday in the evening and finish it up Sunday morning before I'm finished with it, not big books and that sort of thing. But when I started the English translation, I was aware that if at all Veda, message of Veda should reach everybody. It was the great ambition of Ganapati Muni, for example. He was the first person to say, we have all sorts of rule in our Samskriti. Veda, women should not read Veda. Shudras should not read Veda. This and that. Remember, the famous Sukta of Videvi Sukta was composed by a woman only, Vagambrini. As a matter of just ask the question in Shukla Yajurveda 26.2, 26 Kannada clearly says, teach the Veda to woman, to the Shudra, to the person you know and the person you don't know also, to the stranger. That was the broad view in which our ancients developed it. Somehow, people ask the question, should I take a bath, get up in the morning? Should I always do it in the morning? I can say whichever time suits you. Of course, some amount of cleanliness is necessary. But nobody says bath and that sort of thing. You wash your face and then start doing that. So find it 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and that it doesn't take hours and hours and hours. Thank you. We have done that. Therefore, occasionally sell. And so I come from, for example, from the tradition of recitation of Vishnu Sahasranama. So much time does it take? It 100 mantras, it takes exactly 17 minutes. Therefore, when I started it, even if I cut it to 50 and 50, it takes 10 minutes, that's all. Therefore, I tell people, if you read all the 100 mantras we published in a small book, once you get used to everything else, it takes about 15 to 20 minutes. If you want to cut it 50 and 50, I don't mind. But the important point is, not only you should chant the mantra, but also know the meaning. At least you should be superior to a AC device, our DVDs and that. They also can chant very well, no problem, better than us, but they don't understand the meaning. Therefore, if you chant it, therefore people ask this question. Therefore, when I sort of, had to Upanayana, I really forced myself to find some translation of the mantra, very hard to find. Because who will do that? All the Purohits can teach you how to chant. Then I realized this is not a small thing. There is something more to it than the deeper meanings. I had to postpone it and other things. But the point I wanted to commit was, it was Ganapati Muni who said, the greatest. So what are the authoritative books according to Sri Ganapati Muni? They are the 5 Vedas or 4, if you, whatever you call them, plus the 10 Upanishads. If there is anything which is not mentioned there, they are not mandatory, which means they are arbitrarily introduced. For example, women should not read Vedas, it is not in the Veda. Shudra should not read, it is not in the Veda. Therefore, it is not mandatory. That is this idea. Therefore, all these came later. Therefore, how should you do it? And of course, they can take the idea of a Chandala or the untouchable. There is no such thing in the Veda at all. Therefore, he wrote the big book called Chandala Mimamsa. He wrote the classic book there. Upshot he was saying was, here were people saying, what should we do, sir? He understands, he was the one who wanted to make Sanskrit the national language, fortunately. But he said, first order of priority is translating all the Vedas into regional languages, Telugu, Kannada, Tamil, etc. I'm very happy to say Sakshi has begun this great project, and all of the books about we have, as I said, the major 26 volumes plus the 60 volumes, about 60% are already done into Kannada completely. By next year, 2015, we will be able to complete the entire Kannada version. Already the Tamil version has started, Yajurveda is completed, and the Rigveda Parishth, Telugu one volume has started. Malayalam, somebody in Los Angeles, a good friend of ours, wants to sort of continue it. Therefore, our idea is to translate into all Indian languages. That is the idea. Then and only then. So the idea is, by and large, you see, we think we are all PhDs, we are all great people. But there is somebody called as God, the Deva within us. Therefore, even if we don't quite understand the meaning, there is a suggestion from inside, it has great power. And these sorts of things are there, even for people who may not have formal knowledge and that sort of thing. That is the power of the Veda. To give you a very small example, about 5 years ago, we had conducted a workshop in this MS building, multi-story building near the Majestic. Two of us were there. One was doing the pranayama, then I took a break. Before the cleaning lady was there. For as usual, like here, we had an exhibition there. Therefore, I told the cleaning lady, I was simply saying, hey, why don't you take a look at the books? Here the cleaning lady, she looks at the books and she picks, of course, she doesn't know Kannada, obviously. Then she picked up the Tamil translation of our small book called Saraswati. That's the idea. She was ready to pay the 10 rupees for it when we said thank you. That really shows even the common, what we call as common people, they have a respect for the Veda. When you tell them it is a Veda, they have a respect for it. That point we always underestimate it, okay? Therefore, beginnings were there, but then, Sandhyavadana mantra is fine, but I myself had this great idea that, I should make a big thing in a profession, I should have science, that's all right. Then fortunately, by God's grace, the hand of the divine is everywhere in my life, wherever I needed. It came and I went to Harvard. There they gave, the biggest fellowships. Remember in those days, $3,200 was one of the biggest thing. The Gordon McKay Prize Fellowship, you see. See, to compare now, for example, the tuition at Harvard now is $70,000. Then it was about 1,600 and that sort of thing. So then, of course, I finished my PhD in 3 years. I had a very young professor. He was only 3 or 4 years older to me. Then, of course, I got my PhD. My papers were really fairly famous. Even today, they are famous. And then, of course, I went to Purdue. But in meanwhile, something happened. In 1967, I went to a conference in Los Angeles about learning on new things called information theory. It is mathematical information theory, nothing to do with your ordinary information. Complete mathematics A to Z. And there it was in Los Angeles. Therefore, I had a friend of mine, and I said in the evening, in Boston where I was living, it's always cold, for heaven's sake, for we can walk. Then we took and then lo and behold, I saw a second-hand bookshop. You see, I always was a connoisseur of second-hand bookshops in Bangalore itself, near Chickpet, Badaypet and that sort of thing. Therefore, I went there. That guy immediately caught me, sir, I have 2 books for you. And what are the 2 books? First book was Sri Aurobindo's Hymns to the Mystic Fire. That was the first book. And then his famous book of poems, Savitri, that was the one he gave to me. We bargained, I bought it. But the upshot, even though I bought the book, it was very difficult. I knew a little Sanskrit, but fortunately, unlike other people, there was the Sanskrit, the text was there, and his English translation, the translation of the Victorian English was there. It had a long introduction, about 50 pages. I read it, and then I said, this Sanskrit I have to improve much more. I had this usual Sanskrit. I was a so-called rank student. I knew some Sanskrit. Hey, I have to do something a little bit more hard work. The time I had come to Purdue, therefore I had already become associate professor by 69. Once I become associate professor, then of course you have a little bit more time. Therefore, of course, nobody can fire you, obviously. Then, of course, then what I did was I improved my Sanskrit. Improved, first of all, started reading Gita and Upanishads in original Sanskrit. The first point was I always knew these Westerners, when they translate, they do anything they like. Therefore, unless I had a handle on the Sanskrit, of course, I couldn't speak Sanskrit and that sort of thing, but original handle was there. Then I went back to this Veda. Hey, what happens? Then, already time has passed. 10 years, let us say 1977. It just happened, Madhav Pandit was his mother ashram had passed away. He was on a world tour, and he came to the professor to Lafayette where I was teaching. And this he said, and then somebody introduced me, and he was my guest in some sense. I hosted him and everything else. Suddenly we asked him, before I was here was Sayana Bhashya staging at table, hey, what is your interest? I said, I want to do something in the Veda. Good heavens, he said, Sayana is nothing. Therefore, you should read, he said, the commentary of Kapali Shastraya, the Siddhanjana, that's what you should read. And therefore, Siddhanjana was completely in Sanskrit. Only part was published. Immediately, you remember in those days, 77, airmail was not all that fast. He immediately asked his assistant to have a airmail copy of Siddhanjana. And that Siddhanjana opened my eyes. Therefore, here was a great teacher, Madhav Pandit, coming and knocking on my doors. To me, I always tell people, when the student is ready, the teacher always comes ready. It's not that we students have to go for a teacher. The teacher looks for the student. That's our Indian culture. Therefore, then automatically I read the Kapali Sanskrit with a little bit thing, and then I will read the Kapali's English. And the Siddhanjana is extraordinary work. You see, there is an introductory part, Bhumika. And then the final word-to-word meaning, not word-to-word meaning. The idea was, you see, Sayana has given, he has two fundamental principles, the Kapali. Two fundamental principles though. By and large, for the same word, you should have the same meaning, number one. Even though he was writing the commentary on the first 1400 mantras of the Rigveda, which we call technically as one Ashtaka. Okay? But whenever a mantra came, he says, hey, this word Vaja, it is also some place. Hey, this word, it is also other place. Then I got a handle on what we call symbolism. Hey, take this word cow. The cow is not simply a four-legged animal, as even our Raghavendra Swami mentions that. Hey, what is it? A cow, a go or a gau or Gusriya, Denavaha always mention a ray of light in the Veda. Therefore, I said, is it to one case? Then my work started. I took in the first 100,000 verses, the Denavaha, the Usriyaha occurs 80 times. In each one, I asked the question, what is the best meaning for the cow? Is it a four-legged animal? Unless it is an analogy, it is always a ray of light. And that is a tradition actually. Even today in the Vaishnava temples, first thing they do is they show to the Vishnu a cow basically, because all the deities are supposedly in this cow. That is this idea, that old symbolism is very much active there actually. Then obviously I read it, and then for example Grita is there. Grita is not Gri. For example, the mind, that is Manasya Grita, a phrase comes in, it clearly it can't be a mind coated with G. Therefore Grita must have some other meaning, and some other meaning that which is shining. How do I get the message? Take all the words beginning with Gr in the entire Veda, you collect them. For each one do the hard work. What is the meaning that fits in? And lo and behold, there is only meaning called Gru, Gruna, shining. So this is the hard work involved in this, realizing the key words in the Veda. Therefore, then what happened was, after Kapali's sort of but then I kept contact with Panditji. You see, then I read back our Sri Aurobindo's hymns to the mystic. He had two books basically. One was the Hymns to the Mystic Fire. Of course, it is Agni, obviously, nothing that Agni. And why is it called mystic? Hey, don't confuse it with the Outward Agni, Agni is all right. Agni burns your finger if you put to it, all right, no problem. But there is a higher Agni also. Similarly, Indra. So my question always was, some sense, what are Vedas? Vedas are prayers to or descriptors to the gods Agni, Indra, Varuna, Soma, and that sort of thing. Therefore, we shouldn't confuse the Agni Indra of Veda with sort of the Puranas and that sort of thing. A person who always spoils the tapas of all the rishis and that sort of thing. Remember again and again, at a minimum, the date of the Veda is at least 6000 BC or even earlier. For example, it's clearly so that is later than our Harappa Mohenjo-daro civilization, which starts, let us say, if not only from the Pakistan Mohenjo-daro, it goes all the way to Haryana. A recent archaeological report says at least that site is dated 7000 BC. Therefore, Veda was much earlier than that, as many people have said. Okay, no doubt about it. Therefore, Puranas are much, much recent. Therefore, don't want to understand our Veda by means of your Puranas or anything else. Therefore, he says, Veda has to be understood by Veda only. Therefore, if you have a difficult meaning at one place, search for it from the index, all the places where it occurs, and ask the question where it maps. Therefore, first thing I had to do basically was, I did this, okay. So what is the then? Every deity has outward power, Veda has two levels of meaning. The surface meaning, where the Gau means a four-legged animal, Grita means our ordinary ghee and that sort of thing. But there is a deeper meaning. That is what we call as Rahasya, Antar Rahasya. So I want to answer two questions in one stroke. People will say, hey, you are all a modern man. You are all a person with an excellent engineering background, scientific background. After all, ma'am is what we call as a applied math engineering person. Hey, why do you want to dabble in the sky? Therefore, of course, we people don't quite believe in the punya, This is a great sort of our Bhagavatam. For example, in the 11th book, it question Uddhava asked Krishna, hey Krishna, what is this Dhanaka and Swarga? Hey, what is our Krishna's answer? They are not places, he says. They are states of consciousness. It is in our Uddhava Gita, actually, read it. Therefore, they are not places. Therefore, I am not eager for place in heaven and that sort of thing. Therefore, then, the importance of reading the Veda, understanding the Veda, the propagating a Veda is, in some sense, real life today, what is its use? That is this question. What? Purely utilitarian question, Not at how much money you make, that's not the idea, It doesn't say, as people say, without reading you can pass the exam. It doesn't say that, no way. But so, first thing it was Kapali, who was Sri Aurobindo, who unraveled the idea, Agni not only means the physical fire at the outer level, at the inner level, he is the divine will power. Agne, first mantra, Agner hota kavikratuh satyaschitra shravastamaha devo deve viragamate. Agni, is one god, true. But how many gods you need? You need million gods. For example, take your own body. People say, oxygen comes in, it exchanges with blood, it can eat. Such a simple thing happen. The thousands of forces are needed even to maintain our own body. There are millions of gods. They put them as Vishvedeva. Therefore, Agni calls Agni the Hota. He is the Kavi, the supreme poet, not the ordinary guy. Kratu, divine intelligence. Agni Hota, Kavi Kratu. Satyaha, he is the truth. Chitra, Shravas, Tama. Tama is most important. Chitra, wide, completely variety. Shrava, hearing. Therefore, Devo Devi Ragamata. I am quoting the first words, the first sloka of the Rigveda. Agni is a divine willpower. Now we see the flame burning there. Whenever in your houses, what do? First thing you start your worship in the morning is light a flame. That's what you do. Oh, we say, Indians use the word, it is auspicious. They haven't the foggiest idea what auspicious is. You always use the word, it is auspicious, that's all. Therefore, the point is, you are lighting the Agni today, every day, so that Lord, all the things we have planned today may it be successfully carried out because He is the divine willpower. Therefore, how do you develop it? Everybody wants willpower. I need willpower, of course. I will tell you why more. So the idea always, how do you develop it? Very simple. Recite the Agni mantras, especially as our Kapali said, the first sutra to Agni, that is Agni Mile, Purohitam, Ajnasya Devam, and also famous things like yesterday they recited Agni Naya Supataraye. So that Agni Naya Supata is a very interesting mantra. It says, every time, we have negative guys inside, this is our Lobha, Krodha, Moha, we have to fight a battle against them. But we people don't have strength. Why don't you fight your battle? Yuyodhyasmate juhurana meno. Yeno is the bad things. Juhurana, the tendency to repeat it. Therefore, Agni, Yuyodhi, hey Agni, fight on our behalf. All the prayers see, we the gods, and the devas. I don't use the word God. That is a purely foreign idea. Deva is a source of light and power. Oh, Deva, that is the idea. He is not. Our gods are harmonious people. They are not fighting with each other, and they don't get angry if you don't pray for them. No, thank you. Therefore, they always, that is this point again and again. What do they do? For example, what is the first mantra of our Samaveda? Agnaya hivitaye granano havyadataye asatsini barhishi. Agni aya, hey Agni, come here. That is the idea. We are always friends. What purpose? Vitaye, for your advent, for your presence within us. Therefore, Agni is asked to come to be present within us. He grows. Our willpower also grows with the Agni. That is this whole idea. Therefore, once that happens, then he will handle you. Then whatever you see, as a matter of fact, when I was in the United States, I had to do umpteen things. 97 and I came back on this Veda, this gripped me, this will Agni is power. Therefore, I could work 15 hours a day on this translations and that sort of thing, only because of the Agni's power. Similarly, what is Indra? Indra is the Lord of the divine mind. Therefore, what is the first mantra? The fourth mantra. Surupa Krit Namotaye Sudugami Vagoduhe Juma Sitya Vidyavi. Just as I take a cow and milk it, Indra is like a cow. You simply milk him, his power comes out. And what is that power? That power, in some sense, is this idea of divine mind. Mind has, don't worry about analysis and that sort of thing. Mind is the important source for our work in some sense. What we call now modern people, Pult charts and all that sort of thing. You plan your work, how to become successful. If Agni gives the willpower, Indra gives the details. Saraswati gives you the what we call as the intuition of what can happen. Varuna gives the broadness. Mitra gives the friendship and all the necessary qualities. And therefore Sarama gives another intuition, something we don't know. See, Saraswati is inspiration. Sarama is intuition. Therefore you speak of three gods. Indra, Ida Saraswati Mahi, Tisro Devo Mayodva. The idea is that so Ida is the goddess of revelation, the Ida Devi, then Bharati is the goddess of vastness, Saraswati is the goddess of inspiration. So every deity has a power of its own in some sense. Of course, Saraswati is the goddess of beauty and harmony. The Lakshmi is the goddess of beauty and harmony. But the prime duty is sort of, shall we say, Aditi, what we call the Mahaprakriti in the later works and that sort of thing. Therefore, first point I have to do is all of these gods are there. Okay? Each one of them will grow within me. For what purpose? The idea of the Veda is all-sided perfection. Therefore, when I was a student studying physics 60 years ago, there was a book in physics called George Jones. He says, hey, from this book you are not going to go to the top of the Himalayas, not the peaks. All you are going to do is go to the plateau from which the peak is visible. I thought that was a beautiful quotation in my memory. And lo and behold, when I go to Veda, exactly same thing occurs. What is the mantra? Yat sanoha sano maruhate. I climb, Sanu is a peak. I had to climb from one peak to another. Remember, if you have to go, you can't jump there. You have to come down. You see, I mastered all the electric, now I have forgotten them because I am in the Veda. Therefore, I have to come down. Yat sanoho sano maruhate. Bhuri aspashtakartvam. If you are always in the water, nothing happens. But then when you start, Indro artham chetati. It's a divine power, Indra. Artham, the goal. Hey, where should I go? Should I go left or should I go right? That is this question. Artham chetati, awakens you the path. He doesn't simply give you a lecture. Yuthena vrishni rejati. He gives you a concrete help. Therefore, you may have some of you, Huyanal Sang who came to India. In his journey, at one point it happens, he doesn't know to take a left path or a right path. He doesn't know. It just happens, his heart is there. It simply goes, takes him left, that is a perfectly correct path. This is what is called, as he says, the Buddha's kripa, which took him on the right path and that sort of thing. Same. Yatsano sano maruhate. Therefore, we say, earlier mantra, he basically says, Brahmanatva shatakrato ud vamshamiva yerire. Vamsha is a ladder. Therefore, Brahmana, the people who know the mantra, they climb you step by step like a ladder. Vamsham iva, like a ladder. Yerire, they climb. This is again 1.10.1. That is the first mantra of the 10th sukta of the first mandala. That is of Rigveda, of course, you see. And then second point, people always ask this question, They're always, one of the people question is, you people speak of the one you say, and we speak of many gods. People think somehow because we use many gods, sometimes we are inferior and that sort of thing. Veda is very clear. First remember, each god is infinite. You can't imagine infinity. First develop a little bit of, shall we say, humility and that sort of thing. Infinity is not a number and that sort of thing. Each god, in some sense, is infinity. Agni, divine power, is infinity. Indra is infinity. So many powers are there. Physics knows only 4 powers, That is the lower symmetry, upper symmetry, gravitation, and that sort of thing. That's it. And then, what our basic idea was, you basically take all of these powers. Imagine, in some sense, a unity, not a unit among them. That is the Ekam. Mahat Devanam Asuratvam Ekam. That is the quotation which is repeated in 10 different mantras again and again. Therefore, Ekam, you don't think of it as simply a super god, like a super person. No, it's a great power. In some sense, don't think of these gods, Agni, Indra, simple hierarchy. We are all used to a hierarchy. So, super guy, next super guy, next super guy. Veda doesn't contribute to the simple hierarchy and that sort of thing. Therefore, all the gods are there. Mahata Devanam Asuratvam Ekam. Therefore, I see the one, he basically says, Yosavasau Purushaha Soham Asmi. I have the connection. Hey, you are there, right there. The sun is shining. And I am here, we are all connected. Therefore, the idea of the one and the many. Therefore, because we can't understand, don't think it is wrong, perfectly correct. We can't explain it. You can't put it in words. That is the secret of the Veda in some sense. At the same time, you can tap all the powers. You speak to Vishwadeva, all the powers come. Agni also comes because each has a separate power. Distinctive power and personality, as Kapali and Sri Aurobindo would say, but they don't lose it because they are working in harmony. Therefore, for example, take a person like our Vata, our later who became Hanumanta. Vata, Avata, Beshajam, bring the medicine. Shambhu, which gives happiness. Shambhu, which gives peace. Mayobu nohode. So you are Pitasi, Bhratasi, Sakasi. You are our father, Pitasi, Bhratasi, you are our brother, and Sakasi, most idea of it. Therefore, Jivatave Kriti, make our life happy. Therefore, the idea always is, one of the mantra says, Agni, don't cut the bonds of friendship. Agni, Tavasakhe Marishama Vayantava. Don't cut the bonds of, whatever happens, at least we will, maybe not lose the bonds of friendship. That is the idea. So all the gods are friends. There is no question of God punishing you because you make a mispronunciation of a mantra. It doesn't make sense at all. The idea is, just like, for example, child clasps when it learns a language. Do you punish your child because it doesn't pronounce a word properly? You are very happy at it. Therefore, gods are very happy. You are trying to at least do something about learning the mantra, learning the Veda. Of course, the systematic making mistake is bad. Nobody denies it. At the same time, don't be afraid of what the gods will punish you. The point is, we don't study Veda. Why? If you pronounce wrongly, we are told that the gods will punish us. That's simply a falsehood. That is many falsehoods which our Kapali again and again said. Therefore, we should not, shall we say, make a habit of mispronouncing the word. That is wrong. But first of all, you have to pronounce it, and then you have to understand the meaning also. Remember, every word, syllable, e, is called akshara because it has a unique meaning and that sort of thing. And therefore, then I told you that idea that, first of all, I told you, I quoted a mantra for you. What was that? The sort of the, okay. The Agni mantra. Sorry, how much time I have? Oh, yeah, still have 15 minutes. Thank you. I still have 15 minutes. Thank you. So, then, and see, nowadays, all of it, some of you at least anyway have become environmentalists. That is the idea. The parisara is the usual word now. Everybody is a parisara business. But the West itself, this parisara business came into being some 40 years ago. That's all, 1970 and that sort of thing. Before that, we say we can use anything we want. Nature doesn't matter. But we people, as a matter of fact, let me tell you, we Indians have been practicing agriculture for 6,000 years. Our land, by and large, is still good. Fortunately, because we are still not using the chemical fertilizer on large scale. America in 100 years has already lost at least 10% of the land because of it has become something like a desertified, as it were. That is the idea. Therefore, so simply don't blindly accept the idea of a progress and that sort of thing. Therefore, this environmental idea, what is it? This earth is not simply an ordinary thing. It is a self-sustaining entity. It is our mother. Therefore, we shouldn't sort of punish her. She is like a cow. All you have to do is press the teats, it gives milk. Only so for you simply don't blast the mountains. You may need a tree for your timber, but why don't show a little respect, pray for her, give her a symbol. Therefore, the idea is what are the things that support the earth? Satyam, Ritam, Brihat. Satyam, the truth. Then Ritam is the projection of the truth at every point in the time, space, etc. Satyam, Brihat. Is Satyam, Ritam, Brihat. Then that is Ugra, that is fierce. Then that is Diksha. Diksha is not simple initiation. That's all right, it's not wrong. It is the deep inside, Diksha. Then it is tapas. Don't translate tapas as penance and that sort of thing. Not even as asceticism. My argument is, all people, we should learn to keep the Sanskrit words as it is. Translate sort of dharma as dharma. Don't make it religion. Translate varna as varna. Don't make it caste. Translate it as a yajna as a yajna. Don't make it a sacrifice. Therefore, by and large, learn the habit of keeping the original because there are no English equivalents at all for them. Therefore, then the idea then is, for all this important point of Kapali's writing is, first is this idea of, shall we say, the bad habit like women should not eat and that sort of thing. The idea of one and the many, and the idea of each god having a separate thing. In the Veda, so many places these Daitan, the so-called Dasyus come. In the Veda, remember, it is symbolic. There is a symbolic fight between the forces of light and the forces of darkness. They are the Dasyus, not the Dravidians and that sort of thing. Therefore, Indra, what does he do? He spends his time hitting at these Dasyus. He kills Vritra. Unfortunately, that's why he speaks not of 100 battles, 99 battles, because the battle is still going on with us in some sense. Therefore, two things are happening. One is this Vritra, what does he do? He prevents the energies from flowing. A river is good only when it flows. Similarly, all the rivers like kindness, generosity are all rivers which are valid only when they are flowing. When you block them, lo and behold, it is bad. Therefore, what Indra does is he fights with Vritra and releases the waters. There is another bad guy called Vala. What does he do? He is the one who steals the cows. What are the cows I told you? He is the one who steals the knowledge. How does he steal the knowledge? He hides them in different places. You may say that's what happened to our good Veda. The whole secret of Veda was hidden, as it were, till a great personality like our Raghavendra or Sri Aurobindo or Kapali came to the picture. Therefore, there is always a battle. In this big battle, very interestingly, the Rishis are there, Angirasas. They are as good as gods. They fight along with them. As a matter of fact, for example, in 33rd Sukta or the first mantra, it is Angirasas who fight against the Vala and that sort of thing. 32nd is the fight of Indra with Vritra, 1.32, 1.33. Therefore, these fights are all there. Therefore, don't think, Westerners always think of the idea, the fight between Dravidians and this and that's all absurd. They are not fights between human beings. They are fights between the abstract forces happening within the body. All of us, at least we people went to Kannada medium schools, know our 6 enemies, Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya, not the English medium walas. And therefore, the point again is that the battle is against this. I told you just a few minutes ago, Agnena Yasupatara, that is going on. Juhurana meno, that is the idea. Our prayer is Juhurana, a tendency for accepting or welcoming this yena, the bad things. Hey, you fight that tendency. That is this idea, one antipani. Therefore, then, environment I have already done, it's a reasonable thing. And so, Veda, Ayurveda is there. See, remember, Veda is 25,000 mantras, okay? And not one mantra. Rigveda is 10,500 mantras. And other Vedas is 15,000. They automatically are overlapping also. For example, Purusha Sukta, roughly it is in all the places. Or Gayatri Mantra is in 2 or 3 places. Therefore, as a matter of fact, in my books I have given concordance also. What are the common mantras? Or the first one you want to count the. Therefore, the Rishis are there. Therefore, when we speak of the Rishis, you have to be careful in some sense. Because, for example, take our own, for example, you see, when we say Gotra, what is it? My Gotra is Naidruva Kashyapa Gotra. Therefore, because his father or guru was Nidruvi. Where does he come? He comes in the 10th mandala, that is 1063 basically, it's 963, I'm sorry. Pavamana Sukta, he comes. And whose guru was he? He was our Nidruvi was the Sishya of the famous Vagambrini, the deity of the Dedi Rushi of 1025, that is the idea. In the Veda, it is not only one Rushi, it is the composition, revelation of 400 Rushis, of which at least 20 or 30 are women. That point you have to understand, simply saying, it meant only for men and that sort of 30 are women. So Vagambrini is one of the most famous one. That is one. It starts, Aham Rudre Bihi Vasubhihi Charamyam. For wherever the Rudras and Vasus are there, hey, I am there doing the actual work. They are the outside workers, but I am the inside worker. Aham Rudre Bihi Vasubhihi. Yam Kamaye Tam Ugram Krinomi. Tam Brahmanam, Tam Rushim, Tam Sumedam. Whoever I like, I make him Ugra, or basically a wise person, a Rushi, Sumedham. And therefore it is the same quotation. Remember our Katha quotation, the Mundaka quotation, Yesha Atma Vivrunvate Tanu Swam, the same quotation comes right here. And then I will take one more, I still have 7 minutes, thank you. So another point I want to touch briefly is this idea of Upanishads and the Veda. Even a great scholar, Westerners, of course, have all their prejudices. They know very little, but write 100 volumes they can write. But even a man like our Radhakrishnan basically says, Upanishads are the revolt against the Vedas and that sort of thing. This quotation, I can quote you the verb and the phrase and everything else. Okay, but the question is it true? But what are the Upanishads tell me? Basically, earlier Samhitas were there, 6000 BC earlier. Remember, the curve is up, the curve goes down, always. Okay, people have lost the knowledge. Then the wise people, next generation, say, hey, we have to recover it. Then the Brahmana passages comes in. Brahma in the Veda means the mantra. That is the idea, nothing else. Nothing to do with the four-headed deity and that sort of thing. Brahmana, it said, rituals were happening, description of rituals. Then they said, this is not going to go too far. Then the Aranyakas were there. Okay. See, Aranyaka we think simply as a forest. That's not this. Okay, no problem. But run also has the meaning of, shall we say, delight, excessive delight, ranayati. That meaning is also there. For Aranya is the set of books, practices which gives you the inner delight. That is Aranyaka. And the end of the Aranyakas are the Upanishads. For Taittiriya, it is the end of Taittiriya Aranyaka is our Taittiriya Upanishad and the Mahanarayana. At the end of our Shukla Yajurveda is our great, our Jatapada Brahmana is there, Yajnavalkya Upanishad, Brihadaranyaka is there. At the end of Rigveda, your Aitariya and Kaushitaki is there. So, Samveda, something. Therefore, the Upanishads are much later creations, obviously, much later. And therefore, but when, see, always remember, creative people don't copy. You have to understand the simple idea. Just because they say, we ordinary people, we copy, we translate, that's all, because we are ordinary people. But what they do their own tapas and recover. And therefore, those people, what do? They are aware of the Vedas. Whenever they want to quote a particular mantra from the Veda, I say, what do they say? Iti eta ruch abhyukta. This is what a particular Ruk mantra says. As a matter of fact, they particularly quote mantra also. For example, one of the famous mantras they quote is in the Mundaka, you have the two birds mantra. Dva Suparna Sayuja Sakaya Samana Vrittam. All of you know, many of you know that two birds mantra, I call them. Originally is the first mandala, 164th Sukta, 20th mantra. Then you, for example, take our Vivekananda's famous quotation. What was it? We are all Amatasya Putraha. That is one who was quoting. Where does it appear? It appears originally in the 10th mandala, 13th. Amatasya Putraha. Shrinantu Vishve Amatasya Putraha. 10.13.1. Therefore, that is where it appears again. Therefore, they again, we frequently quoted quotation, Vishwantu Kanvan Aryam. Where does it come? It is one of those Nidruvi Kashyapa's quotations. It comes in the Pavamana Sukta 963. Therefore, the idea is when you go on quoting, because I have searched it, that's all, not because I am an intelligent person. Therefore, many Vedic Upanishad mantras, not all, don't make the mistake, not all, but many mantras are sitting in the sort of Upanishads also, the Rigveda also basically, and the other Vedas also. Therefore, let us not fight, the Upanishads are the great documents, which Aurobindo says. Veda's age was here, it went down because it focused on what you may call the age of symbolism. Not all people understand the symbolism and that sort of thing. That's why it went down. Therefore, our Upanishad says, no, we are not going to do the same mistake. Therefore, they focused on the mind, which is what we call a modern mind, which is more, and that is wants analysis and that sort of thing. Perfectly all right. That is the reason why Upanishads are great. But the point I tell you again and again, why I tell people again and again to read Sanskrit in the original is, commentators have their prejudices. They say, if money is bad, money is bad, money is bad. But does Upanishad say so? Where does it say? Go to, for example, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, your own favorite Upanishad. When you speak of the 10 Upanishads, the big two are the Brihadaranyaka and Chandogya. The small 8 are the other 8 Upanishads in Chandogya. What does it say? Therefore, the 4.1.1, that is 4th Brahmana, that is 4th Kanda, 1st chapter, 1st mantra. Our Yajnavalkya goes to our Janaka. and says, hey, no, our Janaka is quite clear. Where have you come here? Do you want cows, Gavaha? Or do you want a subtle description? Anukrinvanta. That is the question he asks. What is our the reply of our Yajnavalkya? Ubhav Samrat. That's the idea. I want both. I want the money, I want the cows also, I want also this basic knowledge. Therefore, the same mantra, typical mantra is in the our Taitari also, saying, glorification. The idea is, after all, what is money? Money is in modern terms, it is the stored effort. After all, how could I finance all these things in the beginning? Nobody would do it, only because I had my saved expenses. Therefore, I had no problem spending about 1 crore of rupees. People say it doesn't matter. But all of the could printed, something like 26 volumes or so many volumes. No later, people do help. That's not the idea. The point always is, don't look down upon money. Therefore, Sri Aurobindo says, money is a great force. Just like electricity, you put your finger, you are going to burn it. Therefore, it depends upon how you use it. Therefore, invoke the power of the money. It is under control of the Divine Mother. And make sure you do it properly. That is why our Yodi Asma Juhurana Meno, that famous prayer is there. Therefore, people ask, what is the speciality of your translation? I will take 2 minutes of your time and stop, just 2 minutes. So, first point is, I took the trouble of finding out the key words, basically, all the key words, and I made it difficulty of tracing all of them. First contribution. Second is most important. You see, every Vedic mantra has clearly 4 parts called pada. Each pada is basically independent sentence. Therefore, recognize them. Therefore, if you can focus upon them, you automatically get it. All the translators are happy only because, for example, my Telugu, Samskrita is my Jagannathan. All of my translators, I come from the tribe of engineers and applied math walas. Therefore, all my translators are also engineers and that sort of thing. Therefore, they are the people. Therefore, they translate from English to Tamil or English to Telugu or no problem at all. Therefore, make a contribution. The other one is this looking at the chandas and also always asking the question, if I don't understand the word, what should I do? I go to the index of the Vedic index of 32,000 words. I ask the question, where has this word come from? That is this idea. Therefore, take a word, for example, yajna. Yajna doesn't mean only, I'll take a minute of your time. Okay? Yajna does not mean only Bahya Yajna. You see, a great respect for Bahya Yajna. The great Vasishta Ganapati Muni, but it many yajnas. But what is the quotation? Hey, come on, go to Rigveda. Go to, for example, first mandala, 164th Sukta, 34th. Here, that Rishi is a very humble Rishi. He says, I am an ordinary person. I am not a wise person like all of you. Therefore, I pose questions. Prichamitva. I ask the question. Bhuvanasya. Prichamitva. Vishwasya Bhuvanasya Nabhi. Tell me, what is the Nabhi? The navel of Vishwasya Bhuvanasya. Of all the worlds, what is the Nabhi? Then he himself says, I have ordinary man, you answer. That is the yajna. Yajna adi Vishwasya Bhuvanasya Nabhi. Again poses the question, all people, you great people, what is this Vachaha, which is in the Parame Vyoman? And he says, that, sir, is our Brahma, the potent word, the mantra. The world created. Remember the famous quotation again and again. Vageva Vishwa Bhuvanani Jajne. Vakyeva, by means of walk alone, the world was created. Bhuvanani Jajne. That is this idea. Therefore, the quotations, come out no problem at all. Therefore, they, in some sense, my request for you is, Vedic Sanskrit, I still believe, as I told you, each pada is there. It has only 3 or 4 words. Therefore, tell me it is difficult. Therefore, get a handle not on the grammar, no, but on what I call the vocabulary. Get broaden. Hey, how many words are there? Get as many things. Therefore, when you hear a mantra, they were repeating. At least I could feel out the meaning only because I know the vocabulary all right. And some of the meanings are like Vishnu, I could easily grasp what they were saying. Of course, they recited the first mantra of the Yajurveda, Ishetva, Urjetva. Therefore, what are the main things he impels? Isha, impulsion, Urja, the strength. Payavastha, Sopayavastha, and the difference between Krishna and Shukla and that sort of thing. Therefore, the handing, when you the thing is recited, you open your ears and the energy goes into flow into you. Therefore, last thing, I still want 1 minute of time, sir. Please excuse me. I'm really sorry. 1 minute I want. Okay, 2 minutes can you give me? 2 minutes exactly. I can count it. Okay. You see, people ask, you are all PhDs, you know all these things. Hey, what about the ordinary common man? We took this seriously. For example, go to the slum schools, for example. So we selected some 6 different, I don't like the word slum schools, but they are low income houses. Therefore, we told them, hey, we got the government permission. It's not very easy, let me assure you. Finally, we got the government permission. For the lunch hour, we are going to teach them this Veda. Okay, how to chant and the meaning also. Our students are 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th become, they are very busy already with their exams and that sort of thing. Therefore, what did we have to do? We have to train that particular teacher who chants, number one. Bangalore is not an easy place to travel. And then, of course, we play for money is not the problem only. And then what did we do? It was a 1-year project. Of course, we gave prizes and that's a different thing. But most important, after all, I come from the West, therefore I wanted to feedback. So if we give 300 questionnaires for them to give back, only 100 guys gave, many of them were girls also. More girls than boys as usual. In all of these things, creative things, okay. What are the answers? Very interesting. At 60% of them said, chanting Veda improved their pronunciation of Kannada also, first thing. Second thing, somebody about another 40 said it improves their memory power. Another small percentage said it does improve even when they are doing math. And another for the 40% said when they go home, when they chant the mantra, even the parents are happy, and by and large, in some sense, our atmosphere has improved. This is a small sample. So, for my point is, don't laugh and say it is all right for PhD like you coming from Harvard. No, sir. It is meant for all people. I have a number of students and employees among us who didn't do very well. They didn't even pass SSLC. They say, what should we do, sir? I tell them, start with the Agni mantra, Saraswati mantra, repeat them daily and daily and daily, and see how you improve. Therefore, my point is, Veda is very much relevant today. Doesn't matter if it was this, for all aspects of our life. We want more willpower, more thinking power, all powers we need. For goal of Veda is all-sided perfection. Not when you go to heaven, I don't care for it, but when you are living. That is this idea, and that is our sort of focus of our entire Sakshi. Jagedar and others are the great workers. I am only a minor worker. I translate. Translation doesn't suddenly become a book. It requires 1,000 steps. In America, I write a book, I send it to the publisher, I don't worry about it. India, it is not such an easy case. 1,000 steps I have to follow. And I thank you. And I thank you for the people for giving me another couple of minutes more. And that's very nice of them. I thank you, and again with my heart. And Suresh is there. He is the main person. I thank him.
Too small a man to don you with this.
Nobody is too small. What is the idea? Everybody is unique. Everybody is unique in this.